The speaker of today's memorial lecture, Sri Narayan Murthy ji, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. I, on my own behalf and on behalf of the Lal Bahadur Shastri National Memorial Trust, would like to extend a hearty welcome to all of you this evening to the 22nd Lal Bahadur Shastri Memorial Lecture being delivered by Sri Narayan Murthy, founder of Infosys, one of the top IT companies not only in India but in the world.
Respected Shivraj Patil, Shri Anil Shastri, Shri Sunil Shastri, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Shri Lal Bahadur Shastri was a much respected Prime Minister of India. He was a role model for politicians all over the world. He immortalized the contribution of soldiers and farmers by his famous slogan, Jai Jawan, Jai Kisan. What distinguished Shastri ji from other politicians was his steadfast adherence to truth, his unwavering accountability to the responsibility that he shouldered, and his limitless passion for the betterment of India. These qualities brought him admiration from Pandit Nehru and his other colleagues in the cabinet. No wonder Pandit Nehru chose him as his successor. Today I will speak on a topic that was very dear to his heart, very dear to the heart of our Prime Minister, Shri Narendra Modi, as well as to the heart of every Indian. That is, how do we fulfill the dreams of our founding fathers that the poorest child in the remotest village of India has decent access to basic education, healthcare, nutrition, and shelter? How do we ensure that every child in India has opportunities to make India stronger and its own life better? How do we make every citizen confident about the fairness and equity in the national policies? How do we make India a respected nation in the Committee of Nations? Thanks to the emergence of a significant middle class in India, there is tremendous confidence amongst this class, the middle class, to solve our problems that still impact at least 500 million Indians in education, in healthcare, in nutrition, and in shelter. The middle class wants to see India recognized as a respected country by foreigners. They want India to improve her exports and to win in every tournament and every competition abroad. They want our politicians and the bureaucrats to be the best in the world. They want India to be the best governed nation in the world, and they want India to be corruption-free. They want India to play a crucial role in multilateral issues and make this a better world. They want Indian achievements, past and present, to receive due recognition by countries more developed than us. In essence, my friends, we all want India to become a highly respected nation. Friends, how do we create respect for India? Right from day one, my Infosys colleagues and I have acted according to our belief that performance leads to recognition, recognition leads to respect, and respect leads to power. Therefore, if India wants to be a respected global power, then there is only one instrument, and that is performance in whatever we do. What does performance mean in the context of our nation? It means ensuring that the poorest have decent access to education, to healthcare, nutrition, shelter, and an opportunity to better their future without discrimination and without man-made hurdles. It means Indian exports are attractive in the global market. It means creating financial security for our essential imports for the country. It means that India performs among the top three on every international platform, be it in corruption-free and good governance, be it in sports, be it in exports, or be it in academia. It means India's voice is listened to with attention and acted upon by multilateral platforms. It means Indians are regarded with awe and admiration for their smartness, hard work, ingenuity, and accomplishments. It means we have the best and most fulfilling democracy in the world. Folks, I have spent some time studying various forms of political and economic systems that result in sustained economic development in an environment of social equity, equal opportunity for all for economic upliftment, and social harmony. I have come to the conclusion that compassionate capitalism, flourishing in a true democracy, is the best form for such a development. The data shows that all other forms of political and economic systems, or politico-economic systems, like unbridled laissez-faire capitalism, communism, socialism, and dictatorship, have not ensured sustained economic and social development. Fortunately, we have a vibrant secular democracy today. Our task, therefore, is to make it even stronger. Let me first talk about the attributes of a true democracy. A true democracy, it doesn't matter what party is in rule, in whichever country you can think of, means that every citizen, irrespective of his or her religion, caste, or ideological affiliation, has four freedoms as enunciated by President Franklin D. Roosevelt of the United States. These four freedoms are freedom of expression, freedom of faith, freedom from fear, and freedom from want. Before I go on to define how these freedoms should operate, I would like to remind you, and you all know that in a civilized society, duties must come before rights, responsibilities must come before privileges, and self-restraint must come before unbridled and uncivilized demonstration of disagreement, power, and profligacy. Let me now first talk about freedom of expression. Freedom of expression provides every individual the right to express his or her opinion in a constructive and agreeable manner based on data and facts, and in a way that does not intentionally hurt the feelings of other citizens or endanger the unity of our nation. It means we operate according to the words of Evelyn Hall, who said, I may not agree with you, but I will defend unto my death your right to say so. It means that majority groups should not force their views on minority groups. It also means that minority groups should not wantonly hurt the feelings of the majority groups. The first duty, according to this freedom of expression, is that every citizen recognizes that nation comes first and then the well-being of fellow citizens. Therefore, any differences will have to be settled in a peaceful and harmonious manner. No group should resort to violence or terrorism, nor should any citizen support such acts either implicitly or explicitly. Any such support, implicitly or explicitly, should be condemned unequivocally and firmly and punished heavily if appropriate. Any person or persons proved responsible for causing violence should be dealt with swift and appropriate punishment. This is what freedom of expression means. This is what freedom of expression translates to. Now let me get to freedom of faith. Faith is very important to achieving mental peace and overcoming our anxiety, our dilemma, our diffidence, and to enhance our energy, enthusiasm, and confidence to make India a nation that fulfills the dream of the founding fathers of this nation. Friends, I am very religious at home and I pray every morning. But my religion and my faith are private affairs between my God and me. I do not bring them to public discussions and public activities. I grew up happily with children from middle-class Muslim and Christian neighbors. As a child, I listened to Sanskrit shlokas from my mother almost every day. I spoke and read Kannada, my mother tongue, at home and in my government middle school. I studied in English medium from high school onwards. I was taught the grandeur of ancient India by my father, who was a high school teacher. I have supported various charitable causes belonging to different regions, different religions, different ideologies, different castes, and different causes in India. I have Hindu, Sikh, Jain, Christian, Muslim, Jewish, Buddhist, and Parsi friends whose friendship and advice I value very much. The only time I participated in a religious function at Infosys, that was the first and the last time, was when I invited a Hindu priest, a Muslim Maulvi, and a Christian Padri and gave them equal time for their religious ritual. I believe that such a diversified experience that my parents taught me and that my teachers taught me has benefited me immensely. My father exhorted us every day to follow the advice of Mahatma Gandhi, who said, "The Allah of Islam is the same as the God of Christians and the Ishvara of Hindus." I believe I am a better person today because of this advice of the father of the nation. I am happy that by and large we have accepted Mahatma's advice and are working towards making 1.2 billion Indians enthusiastic, happy, energetic, and productive participants to create a strong India. Now let me come to the third one, freedom from fear. Freedom from fear is an extremely important prerequisite for fast and equitable economic growth in any country. The law of the land, the legislature, the judiciary, and the police should protect our rights to speak freely on any issue based on data and facts, should protect our right to live wherever we want in this country and to access every public facility. It should protect our absolute right to our property, our rights to practice our vocation, our faith and our customs, our rights to worship whatever God we want, and our right to work peacefully and harmoniously towards our betterment and India's betterment. The law of the land, the court system, and the police should prevent the harassment and discrimination against the poor, the downtrodden, and the minorities by huge punishment to perpetrators of such crimes swiftly. Now let me come to the last freedom, that is freedom from want. Friends, no nation has received respect from the world without ensuring that every citizen has freedom from want. That's why it is important for our nation to provide support to the poor and the downtrodden in basic education, in healthcare, in nutrition, and in shelter. The nation should concurrently enable the poor to create opportunities for themselves to obtain these facilities from their own earnings. If we want to make these 400 million plus poor people, or about 100 million plus families, self-sufficient, folks, the only instrument we have is providing employment to these people with a reasonable income. The Prime Minister, Mr. Modi, has created 3 very attractive platforms for this purpose: Startup India, Stand Up India, and Make in India. Startup India is a good platform for creating jobs for reasonably educated urban and rural youngsters. Stand Up India is a powerful instrument to achieve the Prime Minister Modi's vision of Sabka Saath, Sabka Vikas. It is Make in India that has the potential to create a large number of jobs for the less educated. It is very important to remember that most of these poor people are in rural India and that they are either illiterate or semi-literate. Therefore, they can only be employed in low-tech manufacturing companies with some training. The number of jobs required to be generated is about 10 to 12 million jobs every year for the next 10, 15 years. Our low-tech manufacturing sector, therefore, has to grow sufficiently to allow job creation of this huge magnitude. There is also the issue of whether our economy can indeed afford to consume all this output produced by these people. Hence, a combination of export and domestic consumption strategy with about 60 to 70% of this growth coming from exports and about 30% to 40% coming from domestic consumption is a reasonable proposition. Such a strategy requires that we become attractive exporters in the global markets with our products and services, providing best value for money and receiving global respect for our quality, our customer focus, our integrity, and our living up to contracts. Such a massive job creation exercise requires investment of at least US dollars 200 billion to 250 billion every year. Obtaining such a capital requires that we attract investment from both domestic and international industrialists. This means we will have to enhance the trust of these investors in our public governance system by following globally accepted business practices and through transparent, accountable, and speedy decision making without any corruption and cronyism. While the current government in the center has brought in a large number of efficient, industry-oriented, and very smart bureaucrats in critical positions, this urgency of action has to percolate down to state governments level too. We have to make it easy for foreign executives to travel to India. Our ambassadors and missions abroad will have to enhance the prestige of India and position her as an attractive investment destination. A Swachh Bharat, which has been started by Prime Minister Modi, is a very important initiative, not just for the health of Indians alone, but also to make the stay of foreigners in India more bearable and to attract more and more of them. Let me now get to the second ingredient for realizing India's ambition of fast economic growth, that is, compassionate capitalism. This economic system requires following commitments from the corporate governance system and the public governance system. The corporate leaders should follow fair, transparent, and accountable policies towards the stakeholders, that is, customers, employees, investors, vendor partners, government of the land, and the society of the corporations that they lead. But the central and the state government should follow the PM's advice of minimum government and maximum governance. The government, center, and state should follow three fundamental principles of a good public governance system. And these principles are: one, move towards zero friction of businesses and for entrepreneurs so that more and more jobs and wealth can be created and more taxes can be collected. Second, we have to create a simple, fair, internationally competitive, easy to understand, easy to comply, and stable tax and governance laws that are legislated only on a prospective basis, only after adequate consultation with businesses, and only after giving adequate notice. We have to collect maximum taxes swiftly and fairly without corruption and nepotism. Third, we have to create a special legal system to dispose of tax cases swiftly and to impose swift and heavy punishment to defaulters. The federal government, as the unifier of this nation, has to put in regulations in place to curb the excesses of unbridled capitalism. The last thing that we have to do is use a majority part of the tax collected efficiently and without corruption towards programs dedicated to provide basic education, healthcare, nutrition, and shelter to the poor without reference to religion, region, and caste. We have to use the required amount for defense and other mandatory governance expenses. The remaining amount has to be used to create better infrastructure for accelerating the growth of businesses that will likely result in even more jobs and even higher taxes. While these actions are required from the public governance system, the leaders of capitalism have to play their role in becoming evangelists for compassionate capitalism and economic well-being of the country. Our industrialists should exercise self-restraint in their compensation, in their perquisites, in their governance styles, and in their lifestyles. The ratio of the senior management compensation to the compensation of the lowest level employee has to be maintained at an acceptable level. The industrialists have to operate as trustees of the shareholders. They have to avoid related party transactions. They have to ensure that loans from the banking system and the public are paid off in time. However, if due to any business reasons they are not able to do so, it is quite possible they are not able to do. In that situation, they should adopt austerity in their personal lifestyles, take a bigger cut in their compensation, and make sacrifices in their perquisites before preaching austerity to their juniors. They should not be profligate in corporate expenses in such a case. They should not use the resources of the company for their personal benefits. Folks, unless the leaders of capitalism enhance the trust of the public in compassionate capitalism by these actions, it is unlikely that compassionate capitalism will succeed in India. At this juncture, in the history of this nation, we have to act on our Prime Minister's advice that our primary focus will have to be on development leading to fast economic growth, resulting in the creation of at least 1 million jobs a month. Therefore, our discussions will have to be on how we can remove impediments in making the lives of the poor better, irrespective of region, religion, caste, party, and ideological affiliations. We cannot make accelerated progress unless we make our diversity our strength. Therefore, we have to focus on what unites us rather than what can divide us. Friends, there are many more things that unite us than those that divide us. Folks, I see lots of enthusiasm in the country in making the dreams of Sri Lal Bahadur Shastri and other founding fathers a reality. Sri Shastri ji's soul would be very happy if India moves fast towards making the life of the poorest Indian better and better day after day after day. Thank you very much.